Welcome to Idea to IPO. My name is Rob, I organize Idea to IPO. We've been holding events in Silicon Valley for many years. We launched officially on February 1st, 2010. At that time, we had no members and no events on our calendar. At this stage, we have over 1 million members among all of your groups all around the world. We've organized, promoted, and produced over 5,500 events. By any standard, by any measure, we're the most active, most prolific startup event organization in the history of Silicon Valley, bar none. Woo. Yeah. Thank you for all your support. We organize venture capital panels, legal workshops, networking events, and more. We hold an event every day of the week. Check out our schedule at ideatoipo.com. Our mission is to promote entrepreneurship, support entrepreneurs, build community, and provide value in the Silicon Valley startup ecosystem. To that end, we provide content that is practical, actionable, and relevant. Stuff you can actually use to succeed as entrepreneurs. We believe in building community for Silicon Valley is a global aspirational ecosystem that attracts people from all over the world who come here to do great things. Who here is not originally from Silicon Valley or the greater San Francisco Bay Area? Who here was born and raised in Silicon Valley or the greater San Francisco Bay Area? Well, 5 of you. Well, welcome. So whether you're born and raised here or just arrived last night, it's important for us to provide multiple channels for you to meet people, build relationships, and grow your network. With regard to value, it's important that we provide value at each and every one of our events. Not just value for your money, which is important, though, because we know many entrepreneurs are struggling financially. So we make sure our events are free or affordable. And if one of our events has a cover charge and cannot afford to cover charge for whatever reason, come talk to me. We've worked something out. And at most of our in-person speaker events, we make sure that we provide a delicious buffet. Is that a delicious buffet? Oh, come on. Is that a delicious buffet? I think half of you like the delicious buffet. But I want to thank Snell and Wilmer for sponsoring that delicious buffet. So let's hear it for Snell and Wilmer. Applause. More importantly, at each and every one of our events, we want to make sure that we provide value for your time, which is your most valuable resource. Anyone here getting any younger? Besides this young lady and our panel? When you invest your valuable time to come to our events, we want to make sure that you maximize your ROI. We have many partners that help us do what we do. Law firms, venture capital firms, angel investor groups, incubators, accelerators, colleges, universities, and lots of other players in the Silicon Valley startup ecosystem. Tonight, we're grateful to Snell and Wilmer for hosting us once again at this beautiful venue. Is this a beautiful venue? So let's hear it for Snell and Wilmer. Roger, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Got to pay for dinner. So Snell and Wilmer is a law firm established in 1934. 600 lawyers, 18 offices around the country. I head up the Emerging Growth and Venture Capital Practice Group for the firm. I deal with companies from inception, incorporation, all the way through the life cycle of the company. Fundings, M&A, IPO, and everything in between. So we have a great practice, 27 or 37 different practice groups. I'm kind of new to the firm, about a year. But many practice groups, IP is very important for a lot of my clients. And so we bring in folks from different specialties to support startups. And a couple of things, we got a couple of events coming up, actually just one event. Anyone here that's thinking about going to YC, we have I think it's on the 25th of September, a YC evening. Founders from YC and people that are looking to get into YC, sort of a round table, open floor discussion. And at the back of that flyer is a list of the top mistakes that I see people making in their startups. I was an entrepreneur for 10 years before I became a lawyer. I made just about every one of those mistakes. So if you are doing a startup, look at those top 10 tips, things to do or not do, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Some of our other partners are here tonight. I would like to also have them say a few words. Let's hear it for Ken and Cordify. Applause.
Thank you all. I'm Ken, and my company is Cordify. We do software development for startups, which means that if you have a startup idea and you need help in developing that, we help you do that with our offshore development teams, both in India as well as in Mexico. And in these days, startups can, we used to do MVPs in about 6 weeks, and nowadays the MVP startup time has come down to maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and with less than 10K for most products. So if you have any ideas and if you want help, please come and meet me at the desk over there. Thank you.
Next up, we have Giulianna in New York Life. Applause.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yana Vasileva, and I am a financial professional with New York Life. I do help with financial planning to businesses and individuals. And if you're getting funded by venture capital tonight, please come see me at my table. You need life insurance. Also, if you haven't entered the prize for tonight, we have some great surprises for you. So please do that and enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Next up, we have Johanna and Enviri. Applause.
Good evening, everyone. How many of you attend conferences like TechCrunch, or maybe you've seen some artists perform like Coldplay recently? So my name is Johanna. I'm a global event planner, and I was traveling around the world planning these events until I learned that live events like this account for 10% of carbon emissions globally. That equals every car on Earth running their engine nonstop for 2 years. I now work with convention centers and sports arenas. We are officially going live at Oregon Convention Center on Friday next week to optimize and automate sustainability tracking for their whole 200 events they host each year. So next time you attend Oregon Convention Center shows, you know it's one of the most sustainable convention centers in the world, and it's powered by Envire. And we're going to be in thousands of venues around the world to help cut 10% of carbon emissions globally. So come meet us at the back to learn more about sustainable events. Have a great evening.
Speaking of sustainability, our events now are close to 100% waste-free. So you notice we have reusable plates, utensils, napkins. So appreciate everyone's help in making this event sustainable. I also want to thank Snell and Wilmer for providing us with a dishwasher, a machine, on the 6th floor to help us wash all those dishes. And I want to thank Johanna, who's going to be spending 10 hours tomorrow washing the dishes using that dishwashing machine. So when it comes to sustainability, like many things in life, it's easy to talk the talk. It's harder to walk the walk. And like many things in life, you have to do what you got to do, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. So thank you, Johanna, for committing 10 hours tomorrow to wash the dishes. So let's hear it for Johanna for walking the walk. All right, next up we have Dwayne from Medallion XLN Events. Applause.
Glory to God. Thank you, Rob, and the Idea to IPO platform for giving me the opportunity to address this distinguished audience. So I am the organizer of an upcoming expo. It's called AI Crypto Expo. It's the world's first 10-day speaker marathon. So recent interest in AI has created brand new industries that are unveiling never before seen use cases and applications, advances in robotics and cryptocurrency and brain-computer interfaces, and also the creator economy. So I've assembled over 50 plus industry professionals to help us walk us through this pending future. And that's why I'm standing up here today because I have one request, and I'm looking for our first headline sponsor for $50,000. Also, business owners, this is a great opportunity for you to showcase your products and services. And of course, you're all invited. So I'd like to also end this address by saying my favorite quote from Sun Tzu, who wrote The Art of War: do what is great while it's still easy, or do what is great while it's still small, and do what is difficult while it's still easy. So I invite you all to do great things with me.
Right. Next up, we have Jimena from Menlo College, the Menlo College Investor Club. Let's hear it for Jimena. Applause.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jimena. I'm here as the president of the Investing Club in Menlo College, and I came here with other valuable members. If you can raise your hand. We have from Spain, France, Australia, the US. And then I would like to also announce that I'm organizing with the advisor of the club as well, an event that is going to be in the Silicon Valley Bank Entertainment Center in San Francisco. It's called the Finance Hybrid Conference, and this year's topic is on technological innovation and artificial intelligence. It's going to be with keynote speakers. We're also going to have a demo expo style session where one of the members of the club is going to be presenting his startup, Brick Carson. So yeah, I invite everyone to connect with me if you're interested in attending, just to see young talent, fresh ideas, and network. Thank you.
Right. Last but not least, we have Nikki from Bay Angels. Applause.
Founders, when was the last time 300 investors invited you to pitch and flew you to a resort town to do it? On September 17th evening, 20 founders will get to pitch online. 6 will be chosen on an all-expense-paid trip to Wuzhen. It's known as the Venice of China, to participate in the prestigious World Internet Conference. You'll get to meet 300 plus active investors, 500 industry leaders, 200 plus government partners. They are all eager to collaborate. And the deadline is tomorrow. So please submit your pitch deck to me it's just my name, nikki@gastinel.com. Or just talk to me. Unfortunately, I cannot stay late, or you can just send the deck to Rob. Be nice to Rob. Thank you.
Though our local mission is to support entrepreneurs here in Silicon Valley, our global mission is to democratize entrepreneurship and innovation all around the world. To that end, we maintain a robust YouTube channel, youtube.com/idea-to-IPO. Go check it out. We have tons of videos there. And this rich, valuable content is available on demand, anytime, anywhere, totally free of charge. Our partner in this endeavor is Michael Payne, one of the top professional videographers in Silicon Valley. So let's hear it for Michael. Applause.
Hello, everyone. Why are you here? No, seriously, why are you here? Are you looking to learn something? Maybe gain an edge? Maybe leverage technology to further your business or your career? Well, I provide video production services, and that's a technology that massively leverages you, your story, so that you don't have to. So if I can help you in any way, I do overview videos. Sorry, I just got back from Burning Man. I'm a little bit burnt out. I do company overviews, product videos, instructional videos, customer stories, events, you name it. Let me know if I can help you. Would love to do that. Thank you.
So let's see who's in the room. Who's an early stage entrepreneur? What's the difference between a pizza and an early stage entrepreneur? A pizza can feed a family of 4. Who's an investor? Who's an enterprise employee? who's a government employee, who's a former government employee, who's a student or an academic, who's a media person or a journalist, who's here for the delicious buffet. All four of you. Well, thank you for coming. So here's the schedule for the rest of the evening. Our panel will hold a brilliant, compelling, dynamic, entertaining, and scintillating discussion, right? At 8 p.m., I'll give you an extra 5 minutes. 8:05 p.m., we'll open it up to questions from the audience. We'll wrap it up at 8:35 p.m. We have a raffle drawing. You must be present to win. We have some awesome prizes. We have a $25 Visa card. We have free tickets to conferences. So 8:35, be here or be square. Afterwards, you can stick around, network, socialize, and connect. There will be an after party. More on that later. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to our distinguished moderator, Roger Rappoport, partner at Snell and Wilmer. So let's give it up for Roger and our panel. Applause.
All right. Welcome, everybody. And I'm so pleased to have such a great panel here. We're going to have some fun tonight. Effie, hopefully we won't have any mic drops. Never know.
Got to do it.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it. So what I'd like to do is just go around the panel. We'll start with you, Terry. Just tell us a little bit about Lamb Ventures, what you invest in, check side, you lead, you follow, and what specific sector and industry you're looking at.
Perfect. Thank you, the hosts and everyone for coming here. My name is Terry Lee. Really excited to be on the panel today. I'm an investor at Lamb Capital, so I'm a corporate VC. Our corporate mothership is Lamb Research. We're one of the world's leading providers of semiconductor manufacturing equipment. So along with the ASMLs and the applied materials of the world, our machines are what are really driving the next generation of frontier technology when it comes to semiconductor manufacturing. We primarily invest in the kind of relatively early stage, I will say. So seed, Series A, Series B, our typical check size is probably around 2 to 5 million. Although since we do invest off the balance sheet as well, we do have flexibility to go a bit earlier, a bit later, depending on the strategic alignment. And that is our main focus as well in terms of looking for innovative technologies and frontier technologies that can synergize and provide value from a strategic perspective, looking at primarily industries like semiconductor, as well as advanced manufacturing, robotics, material sciences, and sustainability as well, with a hardware focus mainly. So great to meet you all.
What's the smallest check size?
So we've done, downwards of a few $100K up to, 10 million.
Okay. And that's like a pre-seed. So what does a company have to get a pre-seed from you?
Yeah. So I think for our industry, especially, something that we really look for is more on the technology synergy side. As you can imagine, with some of these early stage hardware startups, there is oftentimes little to no traction when it comes to financial to speak of, right? So we do actively look for that kind of strategic engagement. We work really closely with our product and engineering groups as well within Lamb Research to really find where the best fit is for a lot of these startups.
Great. Thank you. All right. Next up is Jasin, Managing Director of DNA Partners. Tell us about it, Joe.
All right. Greetings, everyone. Yes, Joe from DNA. We're called DNA because we invest in the entrepreneurial spirit of the executive's DNA. Our specific sector is, and we take that very seriously, our sector is software in digital media, so the infrastructure layer of software in digital media. So encoding, decoding, and now there's a whole AI layer that we can go into later with it. And our typical size is pre-seed or even earlier than that. The pre-seed definition in Silicon Valley seems to be quite elastic lately, but 50 to 500K. Our geographies have been pre-COVID USA and China, but we have shifted it up to USA and the Philippines now. So I've been spending a lot of time in the Philippines. One thing I just want you to know about me is my background. Yes, I've done 2 startups, and I've been a corporate venture capitalist at 2 different entities, one in Seoul, Korea called SK Telecom, and the other in Minnetonka, Minnesota called Polaroid. And I just want you to know that I've been on both sides of the fence. And so, when you're raising or giving, it's quite the dynamic, and you do get into kind of, a marriage, so to speak. And on a closing note, my entire career primarily has been in the wireless industry. So just think of me as a 2G to 6G guy, USA and Asia. And that's in software, hardware, regulatory bodies, spectrum allocation, USA and Southeast Asia. So today, if AI takes over, then I'm going to want to be talking about the regulatory bodies of AI. All right. Oh, you got a mic? All right.
Yeah. All righty. So next up is Giulianna Crivello from the founding partner of Draper Startup House. So tell us about Draper Startup House.
Hi, everyone. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Draper ecosystem. Draper Associates is a really large flagship fund invested in by Tim Draper. We're another Draper fund that's called Draper Startup House Ventures. I started on the operating side in Singapore with my co-general partner, Vikram Bharati. We're an international pre-seed fund, which means we invest $250,000, which I will argue is the earliest, maybe here. And we're really founder focused. We have 25 physical houses around the world, which is essentially how we get our deal flow. But I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you. So check sizes, you said, were
up to $250K.
Okay.
First checks.
Do you follow it all? And I forgot to ask Joe and Terry, do you guys follow as well? Or just first check?
We do both follow and initial.
We do not. We have people follow us.
I describe us as a decentralized institutional fund, which means we are wholly autonomous. But if follow on, we pass it up the chain to the Draper organization. So it's within the family, but we technically do not follow on.
All right. So next up is Jordan Wahbeh, managing partner, SV Venture Group. Tell us about it, Jordan.
Thank you, Roger, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Jordan Wahbeh with Silicon Valley Venture Group, also partner with Network VC. We invest in Series A and Pre-A, deep tech, B2B, enterprise class services and products. They have to improve the human conditions. So no streaming, no music. You both are out. We deploy capital about 2 or 3 times a month. We write small checks, 150 to $500,000. We follow. We don't lead, and we don't follow. We do not do follow-up investments. If we can, we do, but that's not. Most of our investments are in the U.S., some in Europe. We work with a significant number of VCs to pick the rounds or the deals that they invested in, and we come at the second part of the deal. Our claim to fame is we're relatively fast. We can process a deal in 4 to 6 weeks. Ideal, but we have done those before. I'm glad you're here.
So Jordan, what's pre-A? So it's obviously post-seed. So what are you looking for at the pre-A level?
Pre-A for us is defined as you raise seed, you execute it wisely, you were smart about how you use the money, and you're a growth trajectory. You may need a bridge, or you may need a bit more cash to raise your valuation up. I don't want to be there lurking around the corner, so when you do get that valuation hike, we are part of it. The other part is you're at the edge, you're at the cusp of doing something that's going to move you. Could be approval, could be major deals, could be opening some product development milestone, and so forth. But we want to see that you've done the work and you've invested the money you were given wisely.
Excellent. All right, next up is Peter Olcott, principal at Spark Ventures.
Hey guys, I'm Peter. I started my life as a graduate student at Stanford in bioengineering, was recruited out of school to jump into the startup world. That was a crazy ride because it went from napkin to clinical introduction of a machine that treats late-stage cancer. It took 10 years. We raised $500 million to bring that product to market. Then I was recruited into a deep tech fund, and deep tech is anything that takes a long time, requires a ton of IP, and requires brilliant engineers and scientists to kind of invent the technology. We're conviction investors. We're not like these fly-by-night, one check in. We put 3 to 5 million in. We actually reserve up to 5 to 10.
No fist fights, Joe. No fist fights.
5 to 10, because in deep tech, we get calls from founders. We have 3 months in the bank, and bad things happen. So we make sure that the company doesn't die before they actually get the thing to work. So that's why we can't just put a check in. We have to actually have complete conviction. And that's why we lead a lot of deals, because we fall in love with the technology and the founders, and we're there to make it happen. So that's what we do. And
Check size?
At 3 to 5 million at seed, but we do pre-seed company formation, or what I like to call robbing the cradle, where I kind of go out there and you'll get an email from me and you're like, who is this person? And the next thing you know, you're talking to kind of crazy people who want to throw money at you. So you kind of need to do that now with some of the AI deals, is get to the founders before anyone else does. But that's what we do.
All right, so the not one and done Ephraim Lindenbaum.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ephraim Lindenbaum, and I'm a recovering entrepreneur. So I started on your side of the table, built a company here in Silicon Valley for the first, I used to say, half of my career. Sadly, it's now like the first third of my career, and exited. So, end done, tried to retire, never worked out for me. So I had to become a venture capitalist. And we've been investing now for 26 years at Advanced Ventures. We broadly invest across technology, health, and wellness, which means we've done everything from functional beverages to AI exits and everything in between. We are conviction investors as well. We'll get into some of the things that we look for in our entrepreneurs. We invest anywhere from $500,000 to 300 million. 3 million in a round, which was 300. And we typically reserve 3 to 5x on that for follow-on investments. We typically go in early, so we're going to be part of your lead or a syndicate of your leads that invest. But we're not very active. We do 3 to 5 deals a year maximum. We spend a lot more time with companies in lots of different ways. So from our perspective, Silicon Valley ecosystem kind of birthed me. So we try and pay it back in all ways.
All right, great. Well, thanks for the background. Let's just dive right into it. We've seen what seems to be some pretty seismic shifts in the market in the last couple of years. How's that impacted the way in which you guys are deploying capital? Is there any difference to deploying capital today and the way it was a couple of years ago, 22, 23, 21? Effie?
Yeah, I mean, I think broadly each sector has tended to spread in a much wider way than it had before. I think COVID opened up a lot of white space in different areas, and then we're in another AI hype. We're in a AI hype cycle. I say another because I actually had an exit in one of the prior AI hype cycles back in 2004. So, when you're in these hype cycles, it gets very frothy. That means your companies are raising a lot of money at very high valuations. And what that does is it takes a lot of oxygen or capital out of a lot of the funds, which means the other categories have a much harder time. Then we have a situation where everybody slaps the word AI on all of your materials, right? So, it leads to a lot of challenges in the space, right? But we are dealing with a meaningful shift with AI and ultimately, eventually, agentic tech, where that makes appearances beyond traditional categories. In our case, we look at it a lot in healthcare. We look at it in defense tech. We look at it even in food and agriculture. And that's really, really meaningful. So there are a lot of areas beyond this kind of primary that makes a difference, but it's really broadened out. So a lot of different subcategories and a lot of different deployment strategies.
How about you, Peter? It sounds like you're chasing deals now.
Yeah, I think especially one of the things that kind of drives our fund is we always look for a huge before and after. So we kind of imagine the world differently. So here's one: why does it cost so much money to develop pharmaceuticals? And so there's a big thesis now with a lot of funds that AI technology can drastically reduce the cost to develop drugs. So those founders that have traction and track record and are showing these AI technologies making huge changes and impacts in how they develop drugs, they're getting valued very, very highly. Now, most of these people are academics, they're professors. So they may be developing these technologies, but they don't know the value of them. So you kind of have to go out and put two and two together and see if that, and sometimes they don't. So that's actually a little bit different than type of investing than, waiting till the entrepreneur shows up.
Yeah. So Jordan, tell us, have you seen any shift in the way founders are actually fundraising? Sounds like there's some shift in the way investors are investing, but how about founders? Are they changing the way they're fundraising?
Yes, sir. There's been two types of founders. There's the founders who are really into it, and there's the founders who are just trying to do it. So the second part, let's not talk about them. The first part are struggling to make themselves known and identified in the large masses of people. The fundraising has become a science. There's a lot of technology behind it, so you can process and move from A to B to C relatively quickly to land the first meeting, and then after the first meeting, you can take 20 classes to know exactly what to do and how to do it. But the investors are also smarter and more sophisticated and more empowered, so there's a balance of power between the founder and the most important part is there's a ton of money, an incredible amount of money out there. And year over year, the amount of money that is deployed goes higher and higher and higher. People complain it's lower and lower. It's not lower. It's bullshit. Purely speaking, there's more money in the fund space, in the fundraising space than ever before. So founders are more aware of that, and they're raising more money, and they're diluting themselves substantially more.
Yeah, I think a lot of those companies, moving from seed to A, you kind of see a lot of heartache and heartburn in those companies trying to raise the A. But that's another discussion topic. So the topic tonight is what's hot and what's not. So maybe Giulianna, let's start in reverse order. Tell us what's not hot, or what founders in the room think is really hot, but it really isn't from an investor's perspective.
I think there's a lot of talk about AI, but I think I will be the first to say that AI-wrapped companies are not hot. So I think more than anything, if you are raising for an AI startup, quote unquote, and you investors do know things. We do know things, right? And so I think it's very easy for us to tell who is just trying to wrap something in ChatGPT or cloud or something, and then, try to pitch it as a hot AI startup. And I guess, I don't know, that has worked for some people. But I think, if you're talking to investors who have invested any capital prior, they can tell the difference. And I think a lot of people are really selling that story, but I don't know, there has to be some moat, right? So you guys really have to, I think that's my biggest takeaway on what is not hot right now.
How about you, Joe or Terry? What do you think is, what do the founders think is really hot, but it really isn't? And I agree with you on the rappers. A couple of years ago, you were a rapper, you were like a rock star, but I think investors are really, wised up. So what do you
Roger, I do have my what's hot and what's not, but could I go back to the previous question? Is that okay with you?
Yeah, sure.
Because it's philosophical. So I don't think there's one moderator here tonight. I think. Okay. So what I wanted to say was that with the new founders, in the last, say, 1 to 4 years, we have to look at Gen Y, Gen Z, and we look at how they think and feel and what their priorities are. And then associate with the geographies. So we're always looking at USA and Asia/China. I'm putting China in the mix here. And then what I wanted to bring to the table was that we've noticed that in Asia, it's more about quantitative building their business plan. The product set is more quantitative, so more horizontal. And then in the United States, it's more qualitative and more vertical. So I thought I wanted to bring that to the table because that's boots on the ground in both of those geographies. Well, when you look at the horizon, right? You're thinking qualitative. How long is your product going to last? What's your market going to be? Which geographies are you going to go to? Are you going to go Southeast Asia? Are you going to go to China only? Are you going to be inventing versus iterating on innovation? Like China and Steve Jobs were really good at creating ecosystems of innovation on products that were already invented. So that's what they look at, the long horizon on what they're innovating on, but they're not inventing anything. So we look at how Asia/China is doing more innovation, building an ecosystem for the long haul, looking at a really qualitative, and then quantitative, and then the U.S. is more like, okay, short term, vertical. How can we capture a market and just do quality product? Invention.
Just get back on track here.
Well, he asked for.
I know.
You know, second moderator.
Yeah. Okay, so just getting back to
putting it on you. You want me to elaborate?
What's not hot that everybody thinks is really hot, besides rappers, and rappers are out. We know that. Anything else that's not hot, Terry?
These guys are just making my job easier. But yeah, maybe if I had to, you know, given our focus is more on the hardware side, I'll move away from the more fun and interesting topics like AI. You know, looking at, of course, the semiconductor technologies that we work on, of course, that serves as the fundamental infrastructure that's supporting this entire wave, right? So it's a very exciting space, lots of great innovative technologies that are coming out to tackle different aspects of innovation. And of course, the $1 trillion target at the end of the tunnel is NVIDIA, right? And of course, there's going to be tremendous difficulty when it comes to tackling that, but there's some great, really awesome projects and startups that are working on these technologies. And, you know, beyond that as well, I think another interesting sector to think about is maybe climate tech as well, right? And, you know, looking at some of these industries that often have popular hotspots, but there's a bigger question on how much of that really translates into support across the board, right? You know, we've seen, you know, Commonwealth Fusion raise $800 million last week, but how much does that relate to, you know, other startups that are kind of out there in the market? And we've seen the same mega rounds going into AI and other fields as well, right? So I think that's an important underlying question that we all have to bear in mind thinking about these different trends.
All right, so let's flip it now. What's hot? I didn't know that climate tech, or I guess pockets of climate tech, are
data center instead.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a climate tech financing in a long time, but not to say that it's dead. So what's the hottest area right now? And I know you're all going to say AI. Is it the app layer? Is it the model layer? Is it the infrastructure? Picks and shovels. What's the hottest spot right now for?
Roger, let me jump in. So I would say there's an absolute frenzy, and you may kind of be seeing it. Definitely in the LLM space, it's exploding, but this is physical AI. So this is using the same language model tools to build action models that can interpret video and not just say, hey, there's dogs or cats in the video, but actually say, this should be done. So these are vision language action models, and these are being applied to physical embodiments. And someone just did a big survey. There's 5,000 suppliers for parts for humanoid robotics companies in China. There are probably 11 full humanoid robotics hardware startups in China. There's probably another 10 to 11 in the US and Europe. So this is the fastest hardware tech stack in mechanical engineering, software, edge compute ever. I get best. Trying to, I think that one of the problems is that the rounds get very big very early, and our fund is only a certain size, and we can't write $100 million check. But these are teams that are coming from the frontier AI labs. So these are people who built ChatGPT. These are people who started Anthropic. We're like, okay, I'm going to go into the physical world now, because now I can take all these tools and now I can put it onto a robot, and now this robot can be in your house, or this robot can be in factories, and so I'd say right now it's blindingly hot.
What are the adjacencies?
I would say that there's definitely infrastructure here, edge compute. We are looking very closely at that because these models actually require more compute than an OpenAI model. So if you guys understand what the infrastructure is to run a frontier model, that's not going to be on a portable platform. That will burn out the battery within minutes. So the intelligence to run the robot is actually massive. So that means all of a sudden you need edge. Well, these things are portable. So now you need 5G because you have sensor signals. And so there's a ton of infrastructure, hardware, software. It's very low latency. So there's a lot of opportunities to build software at multiple layers in the stack, just like in the LLM space. You could look, there's many unicorns that provide platforms to serve models or inference models. The same things we think is going to happen in the physical space.
So it seems like, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to tack on. I mean, we're now at the point where the LLMs are actually breeding products very, very quickly. And so you've got all the problems associated with those vertical industries, whether you want to look at, fintech, for example, security in AI is a huge model, security associated with the LLMs and other elements like that. Additionally, the power capacity issues, this is why we're hearing about, nuclear fusion, all these other elements like that. But I think what we're finding is the application of AI in more, or better said, less interesting markets is where it's making the biggest difference, right? We just randomly looked at a company that has slapped AI onto forklifts, and these forklifts have effectively automated. They're semi-autonomous in these factories. They started working. They're efficient. They showed it to a few people. They have 2,500 back orders on this product right now, and they're not super sexy. They're not a Chat GPT player, but these guys are the next Caterpillar, and that's what's super interesting.
Wow. It seems like, over the last, 12 to 18 months, a lot of focus is being put on agentic AI. And where do you guys see the low-hanging fruit in agentic AI? Jordan, Giulianna, anything that you're seeing?
Stay away from it. It's not sustainable. The valuations are out of this world. It's not going to grow. And the next iteration.
You say that like it's a bad thing for the audience.
I'm talking to you, just between you and me. We're staying away from it because it's not sustainable. Valuations out of this world, and the evolution of technology and the solutions are so fast that what's good today may not be good tomorrow. But integrating this in the enterprise is a big problem. You can put point solutions, agentic here and there, but when it comes down to rolling this across a medium or a large size company, connecting this agentic AI, the data, the intelligence, the cyber, the privacy, and all of that, it's a very slow process. So you see a lot of appetite for it right now at the enterprise, but when it starts time to roll it out, it's like ISO 9000.
Yeah, but
on paper it's easy, but the implementation is a long. Yeah.
But the companies that crack it, they're going to be, mega companies, aren't they?
Absolutely, just not for me.
How about you, Giulianna? Are you seeing any agentic AI, interesting agentic AI companies?
Yeah, so I think one of the big things I have to say is that in terms of like what is hot, right, especially with agentic AI and stuff, we take a very big stance on Web3. We do a lot of Web3 investments, and I think the evolution, there's new industries being created, right? It's no longer DeFi, it's Def AI, decentralized financial artificial intelligence, right? There's new industries being created every other day with agentic AI and other things on top of things. And also, if you're interested in standing out, I'm also seeing some phenomenal things that are not being AI this or AI that, right? The health tech has exploded. There's been such interesting deals on just every facet of everything. So just like if you're building, right? And especially if you're considering what to build and everyone's going AI, unless you're very, very smart, there's somebody doing it really well, right? And there was a lot of things that can be built that is not specific to agentic AI. So,
Okay, great. Let's move on. And something you mentioned that I wanted to come back to, Giulianna, you talked about a moat, and it seemed like for you guys, a moat was sort of something that a company had to have. So I want to open it up to the panel, especially now where data is becoming so commoditized. As you're looking at these AI companies, what is the moat? Is the moat different at the seed or at the A stage? So what do you consider to be a moat?
So to be very clear, we're pre-seed investors, right? And so I think even the idea that we're investing is we expect it to pivot many times, right? So we're investing in founders. A lot of times the founder in and of itself is a moat, right? So hard to replicate, hard to be it, but like when you see it, you know it. Also to be said, we have 25, 30 physical locations. So we have a fantastic overview of macroeconomic pre-seed. So we've seen every deal 5-10 times. So if I have seen a deal that I have not seen 10 times, it's interesting to us, right? So creative thought is a moat, right? Founder is a moat. Ability to pivot and just the founder is our biggest moat.
So Jordan, what do you think? There was the OpenAI product lead said, startups are going to get killed that don't have a moat. And he said, the startup's moat is about three things: data, distribution, and trust. What do you say to Jaffer?
He knows better. No argument there. The data and the trust is basic foundational elements. The founder has always been there for all founders. Nobody in here would say the founder is secondary or they're third grade. The moats have changed for us because the tools of AI enable the founder to do things that they could not have done 18, 20 months ago. But it also places pressure on them to move faster and do more with less. Foundationally, the financial models have completely changed. And part of that is a moat. How do you create value out of the $1 million you raise with existing AI tools and what have you, with minimal people, and get to the level where you're ready to take the next $1 million and then move up? So it goes back to what Giulianna said, which is the founder.
So when you invest, you have to see some pathway to a moat. The beginning is the founders, but is that a sustainable competitive advantage? So there's got to be something beyond that, right? There's got to be a vision, I assume, that you can see that it's going to be sustainable and over a long period of time. How about for you, as a CVC, does that matter to you?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that's super important to our strategy as well. And, building on top of what, our other panelists have mentioned, from our perspective as a CVC, some unique value that really we hope that we can bring is beyond the capital and the advisory, right? So, not to brag too much, but we like to leverage on the other resources, whether it's technical or other kind of business connections that we can provide from the corporate mothership to the startups that we work in. Now, whether that could be a customer engagement, whether that could be a supplier engagement, IP, joint development, and different projects, potentially even up to M&A, right? There are lots of different resources that we might be able to provide, and that's something that we do actively engage in to help our portfolios in the long term to build that moat as well, in addition to just identifying that at the start too.
All right, let's switch. Oh, you want to say something, Peter?
I'll give you guys one insight here. Actually, there's going to be no moats. Okay, so these frontier models can allow people to do 10, 100 times what they could. So that means that anything. So what can you protect? And we've seen this with a few of our companies, and the companies that did this in our portfolio are the best. The one thing that OpenAI can't steal for you is something we call attention, and which is how many eyeballs do you have in corral and who are talking to you. So one of the things with startups now is that you have amazing marketing tools that you didn't have. You can write programs and prototypes in days. So you can build communities now when you couldn't. So you should build them before you raise capital. Okay? And that attention and building that community now is probably the most important thing now at pre-seed and seed for startups.
But I think my concern is, I see a lot of these PLG companies, they launch, they get this hypersonic growth, and then you wonder, because data is becoming more and more commoditized, is there a sustainable business there? And unless they're really iterating and, tacking on, I fear that some of these companies that have got this huge valuations.
And it's a good point.
Good.
It's a good point. I think that the point is if you start digging in, OpenAI, no revenue, and you just start down that road, and there's not a lot of meat on the bone of many of these companies. I think what we're seeing is point solutions, great founders that understand a business very, very well, that then can leverage the value of AI to create tools they weren't able to do so before. So if you're looking in fintech, insurance, healthcare, there are areas where you need the human expertise of those founders in order to then leverage the expertise. Now, if you want to go play in the LLM tool business at a high level, well, that's open warfare. You brought a knife to a gunfight. You brought a knife to nuclear war. It's not going to work out well for you at this stage. But if you find your niche and you use your skill set and you've got real value that you can bring in, AI, as you were saying, is a great way to accelerate that process.
So, Roger, why is that a concern? If they are doing something and the market is giving them money and giving the valuation they have, what's the problem?
So from my thought process is, yes, you're the flavor of the month and you've got some great traction. You went from 0 to 10 million ARR in a matter of days or months. But the question is, when the next best thing comes along, because data is so commoditized, is that sustainable? From an investor, when I angel invest, I typically look for something where I think they're going to have an unfair advantage for a long period of time. And maybe that's just antiquated thinking. But, if it's just the founder or, there is no moats, I don't know. To me, that is an investment that hasn't really been mitigated.
I'm super confused now. You're telling those guys, if you're going to get high valuations of a ton of money for a month, don't do it?
No, absolutely not. I'm saying.
Then what are we saying to them?
If you're, just something a little bit more than a wrapper and you're using that, you get great traction, you get growth. If you don't create a sustainable business that's going to iterate and develop over a much longer period of time, that you're probably going to crash and burn because there's going to be someone behind you.
Roger, my argument is not to build wrapper businesses just with attention.
No.
What I'm saying is that even if you were in a med tech company and you're making a medical device, I'm saying you have to use this new mechanism of attention to utilities. It's like now it's table stakes because other startups are doing it too. And it's going to help them fundraise, recruit employees, find customers, because they now have the capability of marketing and media engines and AI that founders didn't have. So we now look at founders, even in space tech, you're growing space crystals, whatever. We want to see social media. We want to see attention. We want to see so. Obviously, those businesses have technical moats.
Yeah.
And venture is partially hype, right? You go in, you pitch yourself, get the best slides, blah, blah, and the investor knows there's some BS, and they expect it, and there's some real stuff. So what he's saying is, if you want to hype it up and get the attention, the eyeballs on you, go for it. Because if you don't do it, he's going to do it.
So I see, Joe, you're wanting to jump in.
Just being patient here about the topic of moats. As we know, we are in Silicon Valley. This has been a Silicon Valley topic about moats and our regulations of free enterprise in the United States. So typically, when we talk to regulatory compliance issues regarding Silicon Valley, it's usually bottom up. We usually do whatever we want. Then we go to DC and say, "Oh, we did this. Sorry," and DC doesn't catch up with us, as much. But other parts of the world that does affect when we do sell the software outside of Silicon Valley or the United States, right? Then we have to deal about Europe, China, Asia. So when we talk about moats, there are regulatory bodies that are taking on AI around the world that's saying, hey, we have these parameters around it. Hey, that's either good or bad. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but they are parameters. So even in hardware, You look at Apple inside of, the FireWire inside of the Europe community, all their policies around metadata. Now you put the accelerator on metadata with AI, they're looking at it, okay? China already has it going. So when it comes to transportation and EVs, AI is already integrated in those vehicles, whether they're micromobility, automobiles, getting around the city, facial recognition. Remember, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but AI has already been implemented there. There's already regulatory policy around it. So it's an accelerator. It's not a moat. So whether we're looking at bottom up or top down, we have to consider, is there a moat or not a moat?
So I'm gonna pivot the convo here a little bit because we're way deep down the theoretical VC rabbit hole. Pick rodent of your choice. I mean, the real issue here that I think often helps the audience most is really help them understand things like, what are we looking for beyond the just what's hot. Roger, you talk a lot about that, talking about the fundamentals of the entrepreneur, talking about what we're looking for at a very basic level, right? Product, customers,
look at how are they looking
revenue.
How are they looking at AI and deepfakes with digital media? So we are looking at that. How do they look at the world versus Silicon Valley? How are they going to approach scaling software as a service outside of the United States? How are they going to do it? That's what we look at, the long range.
Right. And what I'm saying is for early entrepreneurs, it's often helpful to even get more fundamental than the deep idea stack that we're talking about, right?
It's called the stack.
What are you
Start
looking
and
for?
end.
Like, let's open up here. What are you looking for? When you're evaluating a deal, what are the must-haves that you have to have, let's say, at the seed or maybe even at the pre-seed stage?
Well, you love my 5 pillars, right? So I'm going to roll out my 5 pillars here. That is my moment, okay? So these are the things we look for in entrepreneurs, and someone just stole it recently. Well, I don't know. I think you're going to agree to me here.
I think it's a pretty good
So
list.
authenticity, honesty, conviction, transparency, and tenacity, right? You got to be authentic. You got to really believe it's not a rapper. It's not something like that. Honesty, I mean, maybe you don't agree, but if you're not honest, you're not getting our money. Moving into conviction. That means you're gonna pivot. You're gonna do whatever it takes to move this business forward. Transparency. You're not gonna lie to us, but you're also not going to get to the point where you're in a box and you're not able to get out because you can't make it transparent where you have challenges. And the final piece is tenacity. You're just not gonna give up. And those are really important factors. And I'm sure you can tack 10 more on, but we spent 20 years dealing into those. And we've had a few others that have pop up, but those just are the ones that resonate.
How about you, Giulianna? What are the must-haves before you will invest?
I think, again, whatever you can get in front of me where I go, well, that's cool, I think is pretty much a good starting point. And then following from that, right, it just has to be a fantastic founder who is tenacious. And again, I think, not that I want to bring us back to a moat, but I think also a product market fit is a moat these days. Like some people never find it. It's a soft algorithm, right? And I think as you can tell, every fund manager does things very differently, which is how we get paid, right? We get paid based on our outrageous opinions. And most of them have to be different from one another for us to be interesting and get unique startups. So I think everybody has their soft algorithm. And for me personally, it's something interesting, unique, and somebody who, again, has convinced me that they will take over the world with it.
So you talked about product market fit. How important is founder market fit? Is it a must-have?
Yeah, so great question. I think it's another, not to counter your question, but just to add a question to a question. I think it's, are you betting on the jockey or are you betting on the horse, right? And I think that's an age-old, but the answer is both, right? At our stage, I mean, it depends. If it's a second-time founder who was ousted from their previous company after raising $100 million, I don't care what they're building, they're going to get a check, right? But if it's a first-time founder, right, there has to be a product founder market fit in there. They have to be able to relate to the idea. Otherwise, I'm not convinced that they're just not building an AI wrapper because it's hype. Right? I think hype founders are not interesting to me, but the weirdos that are building something super niche and cool and have found a community and are monetizing, before they've even publicly spoken about it, I think is Again, a soft algorithm, everybody's different, but it's just like when it's there, it's there.
Okay, I want to move on to fundraising because I really want folks to get some great actionable takeaways from you folks. What are the biggest mistakes that you see founders making in the fundraising process, number one? And what are the biggest mistakes you see in the pitches?
Actually, I'm going to make one comment. I'm going to assume they're going to raise money, like pre-seed. And this is just a really critical error that a whole bunch of founders that I recently worked with are doing, which is I met all my milestones, but I don't want to fundraise. I want to do an internal round quick, right? I don't like fundraising. I don't like going out there fundraising. I just want to do a quick internal round, and I just want to like get $3 million in the bank and get some better milestones. Don't do this, okay? If you're a founder, love fundraising, okay? Or find a co-founder who loves fundraising. Like, this is your job. Like, get out there, meet investors, love talking to people. If you don't love fundraising and you want to be CEO, find someone on the team who this is their passion. So that's my one.
Is that a company you'd invest in where the CEO is not a storyteller, fundraiser?
They're very good at BSing us and then doing exactly what I told you.
It's funny. It's funny because Jordan and I were actually at did another pitch event earlier today, Jordan, and there was a company there that had the CFO doing the pitch. And it was just so dry, bad, a bummer. What was the guy that was doing the dumb food for medicine thing? Anyways, the point being was that I don't remember his name. That's how meaningful he was. So the point being, though, is when you end up with a situation where you're trying to send someone in to do your job, as far as we're concerned, it's a problem. As I joke, the job of a startup CEO is spending all their time running the company and spending all their time fundraising. And you have to figure out how to get it all in the box.
So what are the biggest mistakes that founders are making in the fundraising besides delegating it to the CFO?
They don't know the recipe.
Pardon?
They don't know the recipe.
So what are those common mistakes?
You need to know the recipe. You really need to learn how to fundraise. If you have to look at 100 YouTubes or 50,000 TikToks or read 20,000 documents, do it. Because once you learn the recipe, things start to happen. So number two is they don't understand terms. The dumbest thing you do is not read the damn term sheet and understand what it means to you from now till the day you meet your Lord, your God, because it will stick to you and it will kill you. And thirdly, just respect the process. Understand that this guy needs some things from you and this lady needs some things from you. And if they don't get it, you're not going anywhere. And there's a bunch of other things that I'm sure these guys will add to it.
So go ahead.
I can give a simple one. A lot of the founders aren't emphasizing the team and the intellect and the specific capabilities of their past, of what they've accomplished, team members. What are they going to do for the company right now? What can they do today to execute on the deliverables? And what could they be in the future? So really emphasize the team, number one, the product, number two. Product equates to intellectual property. You can pivot on that. And then the marketplace, number three, which is geography and timing. So people, product, marketplace is, just emphasize that in your PowerPoint.
I'll even keep it simpler than that. Research who you're talking to. The amount of times I get on a call with somebody and they think I'm from Draper Associates or somebody else, like, I'm not going to write you a $5 million check. And it's one of the simplest things that you can do, and it's very effective. Secondly, especially if you're young, you may have to respect the process point. Never have been rejected a day in your life. You got to get really good at it. It's not personal. Don't get defensive. If somebody says no, don't write a 5-page email on why I'm making a mistake. You're not going to read it. I'm not going to read it in now. I'm not going to send your deck to my friends, right? And so I think it's one of those things where not every investor is for you. That's why there's 1,000 funds, 100,000 funds. There's so many funds. Find your fund. Find your fund fit as well.
Yeah, I think that's my number one critique of a lot of my clients is that they don't optimize their time for fundraising. Going to the wrong people that are never going to write a check, or the wrong size check, or the wrong sector. And then in the pitches, I think if you don't have clarity of thought right up front, you're going to lose that investor for all time, right? Because I know when I'm looking at pitches, as a potential investment, if I don't get it, I feel like I'm playing catch up the entire pitch. And
two data points. One, it's all about network as well, right? It's about who introduced you to who. Like, go hire Roger because he can get your deck into any one of our hands and we'll actually read it. Or you could come and bang your head on the outside of our office until your head falls off. So there are two. That's a really important factor in terms of how you network with us, because the cold hard intro. And if I see another email that was chat GPT generated to us, now it's so good that our associate, she's got a sniffer, and anything that comes in the door that even smells like chat GPT doesn't go any further, and it's just a deal killer now.
Delete your M dashes from ChatGPT. Get rid of them. That's a first tell.
The what?
The M dash.
So we keep track of actually at our firm, we've never funded any cold inbound email pitch. Not a single one.
We have. So I enjoy them, send them, and also I'll send them out.
But I have funded founders who I've met personally. So go to events, network. That's a great way. Even though you crowd us at events.
Why is that? Why do you have to meet you to get money?
It has to do with it's just that connection, and in person they can explain it, and also these events are actually filtering. They filter better founders tend to go to these things.
How about you, Terry? What's your point of view here before that Jordan and Peter get into it?
No, I really appreciate it. These guys are, again, making my life easier. But yes, please send decks to me. I like to look at decks as well. Of course, that being said, it is definitely an added layer of vetting if we do have a connection. But other than that, there's lots of cool science out there. So, and that's what we're looking for. And, going back to the previous question as well, when it comes to pitfalls, I guess just one small thing to add on to Giulianna's point, be flexible when it comes to different situations, and be prepared to cut your pitch, add your pitch, focus on different things, whatever makes sense for the audience that you're talking to. So just one other small addition.
One thing that I wanted to ask you all, when we go out, when we send clients out to pitches, they've got their KPIs, their unit economics, is there one KPI, whether it's operational or otherwise, that you really wish founders focused more on, that they just they aren't focusing on it at all?
Oh.
Okay, well, let's narrow it down. No, but is there a KPI?
Yeah, investor relations are the number one KPI in my opinion, because at the end of the day, if they're a smart founder and you funded a smart founder, you've got a lot of trust in their general business. But communicating with your investors, communicating with your broader community, you could extend that to your customers, etc. Is really a challenge, because we will put additional capital into a deal that's pivoting or it's hit a wall or whatnot if you feel like you were in that equation. In fact, I was just talking to someone today, a great entrepreneur, and we were talking about what their valuation might be, and I told them that in my opinion, we were talking back for. I said, put it out there with multiple options. Put it out at X, Y, and Z, and let the VC make the call. And, I was saying that I'll talk myself into writing a bigger check because I want the whole package. You get a better deal if you spend more money, you get more output. It's if you can be collaborative, if you've got that investor relations, going to make a difference.
One kind of KPI, the like seed stage startups, pre-seed, it's kind of great founder, huge market, and you give them a check. So there aren't KPIs at that stage, but at a seed stage, one thing that great startups that I've seen literally have a sales mindset, an insane funnel. Like they've talked to 50 people. And then they also understand the process of converting those. Okay, these were conversations. Okay, I had 2 conversations. And it's like when you see a founder show you a sales funnel and trying to find product market fit for their product, maybe they don't have traction, but they have that mindset of talking to hundreds of people, converting them into customers. I love that sort of sales funnel slide at seed. And those founders who have that mindset, do way better, because the ones that are promising the world or whatever and haven't talked to a ton of customers, it's unlikely that they actually have any sort of product.
So I've been given the sign. So we got to kind of get to wrap up. What I asked the panelists the question last night, the one KPI, and she said time to learn. So I thought that was interesting. We're just going to go around the panel. Let's start with you, F. What are the number one or two top questions that these entrepreneurs should ask you before signing your term sheet?
Well, ask us. Well, I mean, by then they should, be my best friend, know everything about it. I think at the end of the day, you just need to know who you're working with on both sides. They need to understand who you are. I mean, if you need 250K cool and you have a cool idea, Giulianna is your person down there. We're going to be looking for different things. What to the earlier point, we're looking for the Moses or Joan of Arc factor, someone who can convert the customers and the venture people and everything else, that conviction.
Okay. How about you, Peter? What's the one or two things that you think founders really ought to ask the VCs before taking the money?
One thing I would say for founders is that though we help you, but VCs can be really bad help. Like if we get into your business, we'll probably ruin it. But VCs actually do have super skills. We're super networkers. So I love it. Always go to your venture cap and ask them for help. A lot of times they just give status updates and blah, 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 and don't go, hey, I have this problem. Let me ask the VC. So I want a founder who goes out and asks for help.
Okay, but what should they be asking you before they take your money? You got to do a whole lot of diligence on them.
Yeah.
And I see founders doing very little diligence on investors. So, if you were a founder, what would be the sort of the top?
I mean, I think the best question is, what are you going to do for me? Yeah. And so the best thing that VCs can give you, there's a couple things we can give you. The best ones are customers. So there's some VCs that specialize in that. Some VCs are really well connected, so we can bring you more capital. And then some of us are deeply operationally spent decades in this industry, so we can give you advice on regulatory, IP, things. For example, in some deep tech things, we know that in every big new category, 5 to 7 years later, there's massive patent lawsuits, and the one with the biggest patent war chest wins. When you're anyway,
I'm getting evil-eyed. Jordan, quickly.
What he said.
I think, just like if you're talking to VCs and to their point, right, like this is a very long relationship. If you need help, ask for help, right? Like that's, I think, the first and foremost. And also ask, I think not often, and I don't know, maybe you guys have different experiences. I don't really sometimes ask for our thoughts either. I think we're some of the best generalists that exist and are very creative people. When things are tough or they're too niche or they're just going down the same rabbit hole, use VCs as I've been on a lot of strategy. I spend half my time on strategy calls, right? Like we like to help, like it is our actual jobs. So,
all right. So question is, how can you help?
Okay. Ask us about our team, definitely, because we want to get to know your team, get to know our team. And then if you ask about what's our strategy, then you get to know if we have a network or not and how we're going to help with introductions to prospective employees, customers, vendors, etc.
How about you, Terry?
I think these guys have said, a lot of great points already, but, yes, exactly. Make sure you know exactly what value is coming out of one specific investor and how this investor might be different and how you're constructing a syndicate accordingly to really optimize all the value that you can get from these great advisors, right?
The areas that I see where there's the greatest conflict between investor and founders is where there is a misalignment on really, really critical issues. And so I counsel my founders when we go out to say, what is the most important thing to you in terms of vision, alignment that you want to make sure you have with your investor? Because if you have that misalignment, this is not like a marriage where you can get divorced, right? You're with that investor to the end. And so really ensuring that there is that alignment, that just, I say to them, ask the VC, why me? Why are you investing in my company? Do they have the same conviction in you? So I know we're out of time about 10 minutes ago. Thank you, panel. Really appreciate it. And thank you for your feedback.
Well, thank you, panel. You exceeded expectations. You also exceeded the time limit, but that's moderator's fault.
Joe's fault.
So, how can audience members contact you if you want to be contacted? F.
LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn. LinkedIn. Email.
Do you guys want to actually give out your actual email address? Use the mic. Use the mic. Use the mic. Use the mic. Microphone.
Giulianna at draperstartuphouse.com.
Slower. Joe.
Talk to me afterwards.
Terry.
What about the doctor going out?
Do you want to give out your email address?
Sure.
Spell it out.
So my name, dot in the middle at lamresearch.com.
Roger, you want to be contacted?
Sure.
Well, Roger will be contacting you. You want to contact me, talk to Melissa. So now it's time for audience participation. So if you have a question for our panel, step right up. We have a line here. And it's not a pitch event, so please do not deliver a pitch. If you deliver a pitch or a thinly disguised pitch, you have to deal with Melissa, our bouncer. First question.
Peter Walker from Carta says that there is a premium in Silicon Valley. Do you agree with that? I mean, company Tel Aviv versus San Francisco, same business. Do you believe there's a premium on that? And my second question, should I repeat the question or that was good? Repeat the question. Is there a premium in Silicon Valley? Okay. And why? Second question, do you believe that a pre-seed, a founder gets a salary? And if so, what will be the range?
I'll take one. Anybody want cake number two? Then two shillings. Oh yeah. I'll take one.
So the value in Silicon Valley, yes, there's a premium. I mean, we were on a call where we had, just earlier today with people pitching from all around the world. The value here is the ecosystem. The value is this. The value is last night, if you're a female founder, you were at Roger's event. You met a bunch of cool people at that event, both business networking, personal networking. The ability to see all of us sitting in this room does not exist anywhere else in the entire world. Plus the ecosystem around it, whether it's IP counsel, whether it's banking, whether it's, technology support services, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the just add water. If you come here with an idea and the right DNA to be a good founder, you can make it. And that's the beauty of it.
20 seconds or less. I've been to many countries, many ecosystems. Nothing is like this from every point he said. Plus, there's something in the air that makes you better, period.
Yeah, I'll cover salary. So, like most things, it depends. So, if you're a very accomplished founder, so you're already been in an industry and you're exiting out of a company, usually the salary can be this similar or a little bit lower because you're getting equity than your previous job. But in some, I know on the software side, you don't take a huge salary at pre-seed, and that's salary ranges in the Bay Area are like 100, 150K max for software companies.
Depends on your funding too.
Yeah, depends on how much you raise. But if it's a really big pre-seed round and you're an amazing group of team and founders, you're going to get very high salaries. If you're an AI top research lab coming out, you may actually get very high salaries. And that's because the VC is thinking, well, if I don't pay them, they're going to get poached and get pulled back into industry. They're going to get acqui-hired and I'm going to lose them. So,
at the pre-seed stage, we're dealing a lot with angels. If you're raising $100,000, I think the expectation is you're not going to be taking a salary. Your sweat, your equity is, what's driving the valuation, the cap on your safe, or, whatever. But I think, depending on the size, if it is a significant, raise, I think it's more reasonable. But you should expect to, and if it's a small raise at a few $100,000, to go maybe, without for a while.
Hi, everyone. So my question is, what are the new industries that AI has created that you are most excited about?
We all looked at Peter. Yeah, I think we're most actually excited about design. So we look at, again, great founders, huge markets. So what we think is that if you take mechanical engineering, chip design, software engineering, you take the number of people in those industries times their salary, those are huge spends. And AI software, by making those people efficient, can capture some percentage of that. So I think that we're looking for superhuman capability in design verticals. So this would be mechanical engineering, aerospace. So AI for design, I think, is kind of what most excites us as a new category.
I think this presents a tremendous opportunity on our roadmap as well, is really, exploring, now we have these broader general LLMs that are running massive parameters that cater to every need. You can ask it whatever question you want, but how do we really tune that and optimize that for specialized applications, such as, as mentioned, our own application in semiconductor, or are there other deep tech spaces when it comes to really understanding the fundamental dynamics of scientific principle and advanced innovation? That's, I think, a really interesting opportunity that we're evaluating.
On my side, it's not there yet, but it's improve the human condition. I come from a part of the world where we had 60 students in a classroom and 25,000 people per doctor. AI is going to allow us to erase all of that, reduce the poor services we receive as people, whether it's health or education, and that's not there yet, but it will be in the near future, and I think that's going to be a great benefit to the humankind.
I'll piggyback on that a little bit. Micromobility is definitely a significant. If you put in hardware, software, and infrastructure in there, and you came up as far as low latency. So, when we're trying to get transportation, one of the categories.
Is quantum computing dead? Haven't heard anyone talk about quantum.
Oh, it's very much alive.
It's just expensive.
Yeah,
very, very expensive.
It's just like no one talks about it anymore.
Because you don't seed fund quantum computing companies, Eddie, right? You're like, that you think.
Microphone.
Yeah, going to Giulianna for like $250 to start a quantum computing company is just like, what are you gonna do? I mean, like you're gonna like get a lead off a chip that goes into something,
I think it's crested. It's on. It's kind of. It's played out because it hasn't produced large, multi-$100-million revenue companies in the public markets, right?
I did meet a quantum computing company that can do quantum computing on a SIM card. He's a Swiss engineer, and he founded the company. And he's trying to get $100 million though out of he hired Citibank as his investment banking firm, but quantum computing on a SIM card.
Thank you for presenting today. If you have a invention or technology that but you need to recruit someone to do the business aspect, to handle the business part, what do you do?
Your lawyers are your number one friends. I mean, if someone like Roger believes in it, he's going to circulate amongst us, hey, is there a business person in this vertical we know? I would then extend that to other kind of core service providers, the network. There are some staffing firms that will help you staff people at an equity only level initially and help you connect with people. But I mean, your idea needs to be baked. It can't be half baked. It's got to be really well thought through. I mean, the great part is, if you live in Silicon Valley, all of your neighbors do this stuff, right? I mean, my neighbor is a VP plus at Palo, I might even be the C at Palo Alto Networks, right? If I really want to know about something like cyber, I'm going to bump into him walking his dog, and it's going to happen. I don't know.
I also think it is 2025. AI as a co-founder is an incredibly powerful tool. Use AI because a lot of the business stuff can be learned. Even if your business and the technical side, start vibe coding. There's so many things. Use technology on the consumer-facing end for yourself as well.
But isn't AI co-founder with a solo founder fundable?
It was weird.
I mean, because you haven't mitigated the risk, right? If that founder gets hit by that proverbial bus, you're toast in terms of an investment.
So I guess it comes like to a much more foundational level of, do you invest in solo founders? And we invest in solo founders. So if you're not going to invest in the solo founder because they're going to get hit by a bus, you probably don't want to invest in an AI co-founder. But I think it makes a person much more powerful.
Yeah. Does anyone else invest in solo founders?
Yeah, I'll invest in a solo founder. I also just want to highlight it's a good demographic, slightly good demographic up here. We do have one person from Gen Y or Gen Z, and they're talking about how cool is in, and just put your name, just put, hey, co-founder AI. You're recruited. So, yeah. Downtown San Mateo, free rent.
I'm not saying use AI as like a pitching point. I'm saying use it for yourself, right? You don't need to go out there and be like, AI is my co-founder, but like you no longer need to rely on a separate person that you don't know, where you have a larger chance of not making it with this co-founded team than building by yourself.
Oh, shit,
A lot of shit you don't need to do anymore. And it's evolved. You can be faster. You can be better. You know, you don't need to rely on people that you may or may not know, right? I don't know.
Well, but at the same time, the founder dynamics are really important. It shows how people can interact under stress. In fact, we don't even really like two founders. We prefer a 3-founder, team. It's the tiebreaker. What blows up startups more than anything else is founder problems. And, I've been through it. I've been through founders getting bought out. I've been through founders having problems with each other. I mean, this is a big issue. I mean, there was a huge element in Silicon Valley. You would never dare fund a married team. Okay. Now, I will tell you, 5 years ago, I funded a married team. She is the CEO. That company's killing it, probably because she's the CEO. But the bottom line is, that dynamic is what's so important. And we see how you interact with your founder. We see how you'll interact with us, with your customers, with your developers, etc.
My question, I was thinking about Airbnb, kind of like the beginning, how they were rejected by VCs and considered like not a backable VCs like investable startup. And I was thinking how you avoid overlooking an unconventional idea, and maybe like right now that there's like so much hype around AI and there's these like unique ideas. How do you overlook, and maybe like even like how do you avoid pattern recognition to become pattern bias?
Well, I think just like being here. I mean, if a founder can present something that is unique and different to us than our usual pattern, then we have a sidebar. It's great to have these sidebar meetings after these types of events. That's one break in the pattern.
So by a non-investable idea, I hear a few things. One, that it might not have been suitable for certain VCs that the conversation was for, because what investors cannot argue with are customers. So like, if I hear not investable, or if I think something's not investable, the only thought that I have is that they have no customer and or like strategy to get them. But otherwise, like, you have to critically think about feedback. You're going to get a lot of it. A lot of it's helpful. Most of it's not. So if it's truly not investable, then not pivot. Right.
Well, and there's something beyond it. I think what is a true venture-capable company is very specific. And 90% or more, probably closer to 99% of the companies people want to start in the world are not venture-specific, venture-capable companies. Now, that is not a bad thing. You should not, I mean, if I were to start another company, I probably wouldn't go to me for a check. You don't want me in your business at first, okay? I think at the end of the day, if you can build many types of businesses without needing venture capital. You need venture capital for hyper speed. You need venture capital to move quickly. You need it for a lot of things, and that doesn't always apply to every industry. So there are lots of other ways. Now is the greatest time of the world to start a company, not just get venture funding. I mean, the joke is in this valley, there's an accelerator for everything. You could go down the path of saying this one has better chairs and snacks than the other one, so I'm going to choose that one. And then when you get to the end of the story, if you've built a company, you don't have to go get a check from us. You can just go build a company.
So Airbnb started with an air mattress. And after 50 pitches, they realized... Mic drop. I'll stop talking. So you will get rejected, and part of the rejection process is to help you look at your number one customer, which is who's going to buy stock from you, and they're going to tell you, this is a good cup of water, this is a bad cup of water, I want to buy this, and that helps you hone your skills. So being rejected the first 50, 60, 70 times, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like boot camp. If you can't handle that kind of rejection, and it's not intentional, then you're not cut for it. Personally, I don't try to second guess. Oh my God, did I miss out on the biggest deal in the world? I don't. I can't do that because it's not in my DNA.
I think, the founder is probably going to, with this sort of unconventional idea, is probably going to need to pitch over 200 VCs to get a yes. And probably 100 of those no's are because that VC doesn't understand that business at all. Like, I can't invest in hotels, like compete against Marriott. I wouldn't know what to do. So I can't evaluate. So that's why most funds have a certain thesis. They invest in what they have experience in. So that founder needs to find those and pitch Airbnb as, hey, I'm hotels. And then find the VCs who invest in hotels or who invest in mobile or something. So, but there's just going to be no's because there's no alignment between the capital and the founder.
Especially for these, earlier stage projects, I think, that personal relationship, the personal vibe is going to be important, and you're going to have to connect with so many people before you really find someone who trusts that vision. And I mean, Silicon Valley is the perfect place for that. So there's everything, out there for everyone.
And that's why the word pivot is beautiful in Silicon Valley. You start with something and you pivot, and eventually you do something.
Also, we can be wrong, right? So, don't take everything as face value.
We're so wrong. Like, in our business, getting it right 10% of the time is top quartile. Seriously. 1 out of 10 is we're the best thing you've ever seen. In any other business, they fire us the next day.
We are shooting for 1 out of 10, so you know.
That's the high bar. Yeah, he's happy. Is there any deal that you look at now and go,
Hundreds, but you can't do that.
what's the biggest mystery?
The biggest or the most obvious? The most obvious is someone, I'm not going to name names, came to me last March and was like, you want a couple $1 million in Wiz? And I'm like, it's $12 billion. What am I, I'm a rounding error. What's going to happen? And then I would have got, 3X plus, less than a year later. So that was just a dumb move. That was I was too lazy to actually read all the paperwork, I think.
I think the biggest miss for me was a business model miss. So the founder pitched a provider model in healthcare, which is that they're actually delivering care. And I come from a kind of med tech background, and we sell devices to hospitals and doctors. So that sort of disruptive model, I couldn't get I was like, how do you make money as a provider? It's you have to borrow money and hire doctors, and I couldn't understand the business model, so I didn't invest, but they kicked ass. So they did really well. Anyway, but that one was...
I think for us, it was the Sailfish operating system, mobile operating system out of Hong Kong, basically derivative of Finland, though. And it was called Sailfish. And if we would have made the investment, then we would have brought them to the United States, and then we could have competed against Android and iOS and other.
We took a small check in a company, and a year and a half later, it went 15x. And I wish we put a lot more money.
I mean, this is like so
Yeah.
you can't think like that. You can't.
The VCs that chase FOMO don't survive. It's just like there were a ton of micro funds in the last 7 to 10 years, and they're all gone. And when you ask about the VC, I actually thought of something interesting. Figure out what type of fund and how long they've been around, because being an orphan startup is the most difficult thing in the world. It is like a bad Toy Story movie, because if your VC dies, no one will touch you.
So in our year 3 of ChatGPT, to what extent are we still living in the age of the unicorn? And is there any room for the ponies?
Oh yeah. So I'll just say that so different funds have different economics, right? So I know microcap funds that are kind of 10 to 25 million that are super happy when their startups hit a $200 million exit, but they're going to take 30 to 35% equity ownership on a 500K check. Okay. So yes, if you're aiming for ponies, there are investors out there, but you can search for them to find really small fund sizes because it works for them. At the end of the day, every investor is trying to return the fund on any check. So if it's a $25 million fund, you can work out if I have 10% of a $250 million startup, I return the fund. If it's a $500 million fund, no.
Yeah, I think we have people to answer to as well, right? And we raise the fund off of being able to return the fund. And it is a question of economics. So I think the short answer is there's always room, especially with angels as well and smaller funds. I am an emerging fund. So the quick answer is we're looking for unicorns. We're hoping for unicorns, but I'll take a pony. I'm gonna say
You bring up a good point. What is it that you think founders really ought to know more about VCs? So obviously you've got LPs, and if you don't have great exits and great ROIs and IRR, you're not going to raise the next fund. But what else should founders know about VCs and the way you guys work that will kind of make more sense to them?
Here's a great question you can ask when you're pitching, which is, on this check, how much do you want to return on this check? Not what I will return on this check. What do you need for the return on the check? Okay?
And get a real answer.
Yeah, and a real answer. I'm not going to tell you because I have to kind of know. But every venture capitalist, this is a great question to ask them.
Yeah, it is.
So if you get too deep into our business model, like, we wouldn't be doing this. This is a business where 90+% of our investments are going to fail. That's like sort of a baseline. Okay, so if you think about it, let's just use big numbers. There's a $100 million fund. We're going to deploy that in $10 million increments into 10 companies. 9 out of 10 are going to fail. So I've got one $10 million check. I've got to return $100 million. That's just give them their money back. It's before I get any money or ever get to raise a fund again or do this or live again. And then on top of that, that has to then start to deliver the rate of return that we need to exist. So if you do the math, it's just very, very difficult. We are threading a needle. And so when people come to us like, oh my God, we're so close, but we're not perfect. Well, no, we have to hope for perfect, because the numbers, to Peter's point, is like, we need 100x on every deal because the other 99 will fail.
On that note, how many deals do each of you do in a year? Like, specifically, not your fund, but like, how many would you be responsible for?
We're very small, 3 to 5 deals a year total, right? And since I'm an MD, I will be on all of them.
I do about 1 to 2 per year.
We're an outlier. We do apply. So we're a syndicate. So we're cheers.
I average about 1 a month. But to answer the question on what I wish people knew about us as well, I think a lot of people approach VCs and they think we want to say no, right? And that's not true. We have to spend our money, right? And every conversation I go into it like wanting to invest, and then it unravels from there, or something falls apart in diligence. But we have a mandate to spend money. Our full-time job is allocating capital. So we just make us say yes easily.
The job is not to say no.
Job is not to say no at all.
Job is to say yes. Yeah, like it'd be great. I would love nothing more than 20 good deal drop in the last part.
Yeah, make it easy.
Yeah.
We gonna get more money. We're good.
All right, we definitely have a process with the three of us on our team. It depends on the pipeline quarter by quarter. So we're about 10 years old, so it's been different number of investments per year, but it's 2 to 4 investments per year on average.
I'd say pretty similar for us as well. Of course, we are operating in a pretty cyclical industry, so it can go up and down. This year has actually been pretty active. We're looking at, probably over 10 or a dozen companies that we might be really interested in investing in across the board this year. And, we're delegating the necessary resources to execute.
You guys have to have a green fund.
We just deploy off the balance sheet.
All right, well, let's give it up for our panel. So now it's time for what you've all been waiting for, our raffle drawing. So if you haven't had a chance to enter, here's your last chance. Going once, going twice. All right, let's start with our first prize. Yana? So here's a classic book, How I Built This, Guy Raz. That's from the NPR show. Terry, you want to do the honors? And the winner is, drum roll, please. You the new drummer. What?
Hrishi Sathawani?
How I Built This. Yeah, it was rigged. All right, how about this? It's a Powerball lottery ticket, potentially worth $1.8 billion. Joe, you want to do the honors? You're eligible too.
I'm eligible too. Excellent. All right. Here we go. Glasses on. See this contact card. Gorka, come on down. Come spend it all in one place. Sees Candy from New York Life. Giulianna, you want to do the honors? The winner is
Kenzie.
Come on down. Just what you need. Sees Candy. Sounds like crazy. Ken from Corlify. What's your prize, Ken? Come on down.
Gift card, $25.
It's a Visa gift card, so someone will get funded tonight to the tune of $25.
Where's the equity?
Jordan. Don't pull your own name out there. Winner is
James?
James who?
Let's see the full name.
Ortiz.
That's Jimena. Jimena Ortiz. Jimena, or down.
Menlo College, 2 students.
Woo! And she is the president of the Investor Club at Menlo College. Okay. Dwayne, your grand prize. What's your grand prize again? Dwayne.
The grand prize is 2 VIP tickets to the AI Crypto Expo, which allows you to network with people like Fiona Ma, California State Treasurer, Hermine Wong, Tim Draper, Robert Scoble, tech evangelist, and many investors, and also Dr. Ralph Merkel, who is a pioneer in cryptography, nanotechnology, and cryogenics. And he's about to be frozen, so this might be the last time you get to hear him speak.
This is serious. Are you giving me out one ticket or two tickets?
Give him two.
What's the dollar amount worth?
$500.
Each or in total? Wow.
Good deal.
Stick around. Peter, you want to do the honors? Dwayne, stick around. And the winner is...
Diego Leones.
Wait. You want a picture with Dwayne? Dwayne. Make sure you take care of him. Do you want to give out another two?
Nah, that's two, right?
No, he's getting two. You want to give out another two?
Oh, he's getting up.
Well, that's what you said. You want to give out another two?
We got two people to give BS tickets to. You got two people to give BS tickets to.
Do you want to give out another two?
Give out another.
Actually, we're going to give out another two VIP tickets. What's the dollar amount worth again? What's the dollar value?
$1,000.
So anyway, two more VIP tickets to the AI Cyber Conference, September 18th. Winner is...
All right, Nikki, and I think that's a G, so that...
Nikki went home, so you must be present to win. So someone tell Nikki that because she left, she's not... She was just here early. Okay, so we'll get another winner. If not present, you snooze, you lose.
All right.
Winner is...
this is Hermantha. That is just a scribble, so it's Hermantha G.
Come on down. All right, 2 free tickets to the AI Cyber Conference. You can get a picture with Dwayne. Dwayne will take care of you. So let's hear it again for our panel. Applause. Let's hear it for Roger, our awesome moderator. Thanks for staying on track. Let's hear it for our sponsors and all our supporters. Snell and Wilmer. Let's hear it for our video team and our event team. Let's hear it for our audience. They're sticking around. Let's hear it for me. So normally at a typical law firm, I would have to say you need to leave the building by 9:15, but this is not a typical law firm.
Yep.
So you can stay all night if you wish. So the after party begins now. Enjoy the rest of the night. We have lots of food. Thanks for coming. See you next time.
Sorry, just before you go, if you've got anything on the floor, please pick it up and just throw it in the trash, and not the dishes, not the napkins, but just anything on the floor.
Please take some food home. We have takeout boxes.